It comes from intentional choices to avoid and remove all toxic habits that keep us stunted. They keep us in a stunted place, like scrolling on social media. So when we intentionally make these healthy choices to remove all the toxic habits in our life that are keeping us in a stunted place, like when we scroll on social media or we just, binge watch, something on Netflix that, isn't edifying. When we ask the Lord, when we ask God to reveal these things to us, He will. And what we do with what He lets us know matters. Don't ask God to show you where you're inconsistent. Then He does, and then you go, yeah, I don't agree. I really like that show. I really like that movie. I really like that series. I really like that music. I really like that song. I've had to let go of a lot of things because more and more I see how it affects my mind. It affects how I start thinking again. The more sincere you are, the more you will really truly to understand about your own self. God will reveal yourself to you, but that comes when you're sincere. So I know that I'm sincere because I see things and I go, oh wow, now I see where that came from. More and more I'm like the light bulb will go off over my head and I'll be like, I see where that thought came from. Wow, that thought was planted all those years back through this song. Wow, through this movie, through this video, to this whatever, I see where that struggle came from. And I've had to let go of a lot of things. I've had to let go of a lot of music. Sometimes I'm not even like sure why. I'm like, that song wasn't even bad, but it wasn't Christian, but it wasn't bad. And I'm like, but I noticed that after I found that song and started listening to it on repeat, my mind just went crazy again. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on here? Like, last week I was on fire, and this week I'm like struggling with double-minded thoughts again. And I'm like, you know what? I start tracing back my steps and I go, you know what? I came across this song, it fit my genre of music that I like. Loved the beat, loved the song, and I was just like, shoot, man, it wasn't, I'm listening to the lyrics. I'm like, it's not bad, but you know what? That's the common denominator. That's the common denominator. I had to let go of that song. I had to let go of that song. And I was like, and guess what? I'll be honest with you. The month of October was spiritual warfare for sure for me. Okay. We're in December now. The month of October was spiritual war. The first 25 days. The first 25 days. And they always talk about, that's a very evil month, obviously, right? Because the witches and all that stuff. And I really believe that this year, October 2025, was like, I really got to see how true that was. I was under so much demonic attack mentally for the first 25 days of October. It was mind blowing. It was mind blowing to me. And then October 26th, it all ended and everything's been fine since then. But we need to take an inventory because I work in inventory now at work, right? We need to take an inventory of our lives and ask God to show us, what do I need to remove? What is keeping me in a stunted place of spiritual growth? And He'll show it to you. And if you're sincere, you'll remove it. You'll remove it. And, some things are hard, right? For me, it was, I grew up on R&B, right? I grew up on R&B, and a lot of that I can't listen to no more. I have to be very, very intentional about what I listen to. And what I find myself doing now is I'm just listening to more and more content of, things that make me grow, right? Things that make me grow, spiritually speaking. And if it's music, it's Christian music, and it's very, very limited to secular music now because I personally have to be very careful, to each their own. That's for each and every man and woman to decide. But as for me, this is what I've decided for me. So I'm not putting any of my convictions on anybody. I'm just, these are the things that work for me, and if you come across this and you know what, I need to do that too. But to each their own, not putting my convictions on anybody. But as for me, I've had to eliminate like 95% of secular music, and I have to be careful with what I watch because immediately I start seeing things, and that comes through consistency and sincerity with God. So consistency is key. If that's all you get out of this video, let it be that. Be consistent. Be consistent in all situations and places. Be that same man or woman of God at work that you pretend to be at church or home. Don't laugh at the dirty jokes. Don't change your language depending on the crowd. Don't compromise. We must live lives of consistency. Next, we must walk in truthfulness. Be truthful with God, and He will make you truthful everyone else. Be truthful with God, and He will make you truthful with everyone else. John 18:37 says, Pilate said, so you are a king? Jesus responded, you say I am a king. Actually, I was born and came into the world to testify to the truth. All who love the truth recognize that what I say is true. Christ came to establish truth once and for all. The world has their idea of truth. Even Pilate said in the very next verse, well, what is truth? The thing is, we don't bring God's standard down to us. We strive to meet God's standard. We do not compromise with the truth, and God defines truth, not man. Walking in truthfulness is how we live a life for God under the skies of the Almighty. So we must not live below our God-given potential. Next, we must walk in holiness. We live a life of purity, not perfection, but purity, where we take on the characteristics of God. 1 Peter 1:15 and 16 and 17 says, "But now you must be holy in everything you do, just as God who chose you is holy. For the scriptures say you must be holy because I am holy. And remember that the heavenly Father to whom you pray has no favorites. He will judge or reward you according to what you do. So you must live a life in reverent fear of him during your time here as temporary residents." That was 1 Peter chapter 1 verses 15 to 17.